Hey guys, Sky here, spoonfulofparadise.com, and I'm here to show you how to make my favorite beverage in the whole world. It's called Jun, J-U-N. Jun is known as the Champagne of Kombuchas. That's why. Check that out. Beautiful bubbles forming. It's a bunch of CO2 that formed during the lacto-fermentation. Oh my God, that is so good. I can't even believe it. Every time I take a sip of it, it just blows my mind how good it is. And you know what? Every time it's a little bit different because this is a living food. And so it's not some industrial made thing that is always going to be the same. It's always going to be a little different depending on the honey you use, depending on the conditions, your environment, how much love you put into it, any other ingredients you put into it. Like this one actually has turmeric in it, the tea you use. So I'm going to show you how to make your very own Jun, and I encourage you to play with it because you can get really creative with this. You can add things afterwards like fruit. I love adding raspberries to mine. You can play with different honeys. In fact, today I'm going to make Jun with Manuka honey. This is a first for me. You know, Manuka honey is known to be super medicinal. They can put it on burns. It's great if you have an infection that won't heal. But I'm going to try making Jun out of it. I've never done this, so hopefully it'll work. So let me just walk you through the process right now, because it's actually not a whole lot different than making sweetened tea. The only thing special you're going to need is your SCOBY. So right here, let me just show you. This is called the SCOBY. It's basically a symbiotic relationship of bacteria and yeast. So a symbiont. And this you can either get from a friend who's making Jun, or you can get it online. I think I originally got it on eBay, and I've just been giving them away to friends, because every time you make a batch, a new SCOBY forms on top, right? It's very slimy, kind of looks disgusting, but this is where the magic happens. And just so you know, I store the SCOBY between batches in the fridge in a glass container, not a plastic container, in some of its Jun medium. So this has been in the fridge, so I pull it out, and we're gonna use that once we make a sweetened tea. So first off, I have hot water. I've already boiled this water. I'm going to put it in a glass gallon container. This is by the Ball Jar Company. You can use any kind of glass container. I don't recommend plastic unless you have fermentation grade, food grade plastic that you can get at like a brewing store. Okay. Now in that water, we're going to do 10 organic green tea bags. Now this is where it differs from a lot of kombuchas. Kombuchas are generally black tea. In Jun we use green tea, so it's going to be a little bit lighter. All right. So I love these, this Whole Foods brand, organic, decaffeinated. I like to use decaffeinated, although you can use caffeine. I believe it's a myth that the Jun cultures actually eat the caffeine. I don't believe that at all. So for me, I like to drink this at all times during the day. So I go with decaffeinated green tea. And I do 10 tea bags, right? And I throw that in the water, the hot water. You don't have to fill your whole jar up with hot water. This is enough. We're gonna let that sit for about 4 minutes. I usually like to give it a good stir to make sure that it starts to steep so you can see all the green tea coming out. All right, and then we let that sit for about 4 minutes. And in the meantime, I'm gonna get my honey into a 1 cup measuring cup, all right? So we're making 1 gallon. This batch is 1 gallon. It's gonna be 10 tea bags, and it's gonna be 1 cup of honey. I'm gonna let this finish steeping, and then I'm gonna pull the tea bags out. And at that point, I can dissolve my honey into the tea. Then I'm gonna fill it up with room temperature water all the way, not quite to the top, because I'm also gonna be adding my culture to it once it cools. I'm not going to do it while it's still hot, so I'm going to actually let that sweetened tea cool, then I'm going to add my culture. So that will be happening next. All right, I think that our tea is ready. So I'm just going to fish these tea bags out and then just give them a good squeeze. Make sure that I get all the nice tea out of them. Alright, and then you can discard or put those in your compost. So this is still really hot, so I want to cool it down before I put my honey in because like I said, there are a lot of health benefits of raw honey. I don't want to kill all of the enzymes that are in it. So I'm going to just add some cold, room temp filtered water. This is filtered. It's important you use filtered water because a lot of municipal water has chlorine in it, and the chlorine can actually damage the SCOBY and kill your gin cultures. Alright, so that's still warm, but it's not going to scald our honey. I'm going to take a spatula, and then it's just a matter of dissolving this honey in here, which, it'll take a little while for it to actually dissolve. Honey is very thick. But now we're basically just waiting for this to become room temperature so that we can add our culture to it. Because once we add our culture, we're going to know where to fill the water up to. So we want to fill the water up to the top because that means it'll be 1 gallon. Our tea is nice and cool. It's just room temperature. I've added some room temperature water to it. All we have to do now is add our SCOBY and the liquid that it's in, and this is our starter. So we've basically inoculated our sweetened tea with this bacterial yeast symbiont. I like to usually just give it a little stir, and then it usually floats right back to the top. And then all I have to do is add some room temperature water to bring it up to 1 gallon. And that's it. So now what I like to do is take like a terry cloth, some kind of kitchen towel is fine, cover it, and then I'll even go as far as adding a rubber band around it because those ants, they always find a way in. So I have to secure that. I don't want any bugs crawling in there. And then I just like to tuck it out of the way somewhere in the kitchen that's not in direct sunlight. That's important because sunlight is not good for microbes. And just somewhere out of the way. And so what we're going to do is we're going to let that sit at room temperature for, I'm going to say right now, about 4 days. I'll try it. It can be anywhere from like 3 days to a week, depending on the temperature of your environment. You want to make sure that it's still kind of sweet before you bottle it to do the second fermentation. So you don't want it to get all the way to that sour, almost vinegary taste, because then it'll have gone too far. All right, welcome back. We have been doing our secondary fermentation in the bottle on the counter for, I think we probably did it about 30 to 32 hours. Anywhere from 24 to 36 hours for that secondary fermentation builds up a nice amount of gas. Then what we did before opening it was we stuck it in the fridge. So you can see this is nice and chilled. What that does is it slows the fermentation down, and then it also compresses the gas. So when we open it, half of it doesn't fly out all over us, okay? So let's see what happens when we open this batch. It's always a little different. This is a very living food. So here we go. Nice bubbles in there. You can see them starting to come out of solution. You can go ahead and taste it. Yeah, those bubbles kind of dance on your palate. It's a nice light honey flavor, yet nice and tangy from the fermentation, but not vinegary. This one doesn't taste too boozy, which sometimes happens if you ferment it too long or if it's too warm out. It can kind of taste a little bit too alcohol-y for my taste. Some people probably like that. All right, that's how you make gin. Let us know if you have any questions in the comments below. Enjoy.